after we meet to discuss Rule 18 legislation, the new agenda item, the new agenda format, and any other, clean up some of this City Hall second floor kind of stuff, then we'll adjust it as we go along at the next meeting or as soon as we can. But we have to have rules in place to conduct our meetings. Okay.
I would suggest that in the future that we allow more than 30 minutes to amend our council rules.
Okay, all right, so with that in mind, we are going to go on to our regular council meeting.
Mr. President, we didn't vote, though, did we?
On what? We voted to accept the rules by a 6-to-1 vote.
Okay.
And then the administrative matters, we didn't, there was no vote needed on those items.
Okay.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. We will call the regular meeting for the City Council of Ashtabula regular meeting to order. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025. If at this time you would please stand for a prayer and a pledge. Heavenly Father, we ask you to let your inspiration proceed this council's actions and all of us present here today. And may your assistance further us so that in every word and work of ours, may it take its beginning from you, and so begun, may through you reach its completion. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Milberg, will you call the roll?
Ms. Holman,
Present.
Mrs. Mills,
Here.
Mrs. DiGiacomo,
Here.
Mrs. Foglio,
Here.
Mr. Guerrero,
Here.
Mr. Simeone,
Here.
Mr. Roskovich,
Here.
Mr. Timonier,
Here.
Ms. Cooper, Mr. Khan.
Here.
We have our quorum established. We have no reason to excuse anybody. We are not having an executive session this evening, so we will go on to the approval of minutes.
November 17th, 2025 work session was called to order at 5:30 PM by Council President Roskovich. Present, Mr. Roskovich, Mr. Simeone, Mrs. Foglio, Mr. Guerrero, Ms. Holman, Mrs. Mills, and Mrs. DiGiacomo. Officers present were City Manager Timonier, City Solicitor Cooper, and Clerk of Council Milberg.
May I have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Foglio moves, Mrs. Mills seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading of the minutes by a 7-0 vote.
November 17th, 2025 regular council meeting was called to order at 7:01 PM by Council President Roskovich. Vice President Simeone offered the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance was recited. Present, Mr. Roskovich, Mr. Simeone, Mrs. Foglio, Mr. Guerrero, Ms. Holman, Mrs. Mills, and Mrs. DiGiacomo. Officers present were City Manager Timonier, City Solicitor Cooper, Finance Director Khan, and Clerk of Council Milberg.
May I have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes in their entirety?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Foglio moves, Mrs. Mills seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading of the minutes by a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Ms. Milberg. Just, I see we have some new faces with us tonight at our meeting. Just a way to let you know how this works. We will have administrative team reports from our dais here. Then we will have city council committee reports. And then we will vote on the legislation that is in front of us tonight. If at that time you want to comment on any items of legislation only, and they'll be on the overhead, that would be the time to do that before we vote on the legislative agenda. You would comment at that time. If you want to address another issue with council that is not on the agenda, then there's a citizens portion at the end of the meeting. So that's the way that will work. Okay? Thank you. City council report, I, at this time, would like to request a resolution of appreciation or congratulations for Reverend Peter Nielsen from St. Peter's Church. He's going to be retiring, and he served our community in his church for a long time, done many wonderful things, and I'd like to take note of that and present him with a resolution.
Second?
Yes, please. Mr. Roskovich moves, Mrs. Foglio seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will have a resolution compiled by a 7-0 vote. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Is this when I would bring up
If
my
you would like to, yes,
resolution
yes.
request?
yes.
So I would like to request a resolution for our local Zonta chapter from November 25th through December 10th. That is what they have for elimination of violence against women and children. And it starts on International Day and ends on Human Rights Day. And it's 6 days, 16 days of activism. And right now, that is why our bridge is the color orange.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a resolution to recognize the Zonta Club's effort with domestic abuse by Mrs. DiGiacomo, second by Mrs. Mills. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will have that resolution drafted by a 7-0 vote. Thank you. Okay. Seeing nothing else from council, we will go on with the manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 different pieces of legislation. They all kind of play off of each other. They're repeal and replace ordinances. So the first one is to repeal and replace Chapter 951.03, the solid waste disposal rates and collections. This would be to increase the fee per month by $3 and would begin on January 1st, 2026. The next is repeal and replace of codified ordinance section 951.09, leasing of commercial containers. This would be effective on January 1st, 2026, and this is to increase the price of our commercial leases for the commercial containers. And the last is a repeal and replace of codified ordinance section 951.10, the transfer station rates. This would be effective again January 1st, 2026. This would take the rate from 10 cents a pound up to 12 cents a pound.
Is there a motion to move on the manager's recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Foglio, second by Mrs. Mills. These are increasing our garbage disposal rates, our containers, and our transfer station rates.
And Mr. President,
Yeah.
this was just suggested as a first reading tonight, so it wouldn't be presented for passage until the 15th.
This would be the first reading on these items. We'll add them to our agenda. I add them to the agenda for first reading. And these rates haven't been increased in several years, and they're still relatively less than private concerns in neighboring areas. So, all in favor, anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add this to our agenda by a 7-0 vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Along with the increases in sanitation, and most of you know that we've been, Mr. Khan and I have been warning about this pretty much this entire year, that these rates were needed. The collection rate hasn't been increased since, I believe, 2018. So it's been a long time coming. But along with this, at the end of this week, I'll be submitting a competitive grant for the Ohio EPA in order to get recycling bins throughout the rest of the community. We're estimating that the project for the recycling bins, for delivery of those bins, and for the educational material that goes along with it to be $167,000. That would give us 2,800 containers, which we believe is the number needed, with a few left over to complete recycling in the rest of the city. Of that 167,000, we are able to apply for $133,600 in grant funding, and our match to that would be $33,400. Now, what we're not able to do is use the solid waste containers as our match funds, as we were when we did the first round of funding for this, when we originally rolled out phase one of the recycling. So in addition to the $33,400, we need an additional $133,000 for the refuse containers to be delivered. So in all, the total project, when you include the waste containers, it's $300,000 is our estimate for the project. We would have $133,600 in grant funding, and $166,400 would be out of the sanitation fund, the enterprise fund, to pay for the implementation of phase two of the project. I've had several conversations with the Ohio EPA about our grant application. I've had it reviewed by them as well. I'm confident in it. They know how much we need to get this done. And again, we are doing this because the county solid waste district needs the city of Ashtabula to complete curbside recycling in order to meet its requirement of recycling opportunities for the county, us being the largest municipality. So we've been playing ball with them. That's where phase one came from. Now I think with the increases, we'll be able to do phase two here. We will know early next year whether we get the grant. Grant agreements would then be available sometime in April. And after that point, we could move on the grant. We do have 2 years to perform it. I don't want to wait 2 years to perform it. I'd rather do it next year. But there will be some time because the containers that we buy, they are hot stamped with the city's logo, with the Ohio EPA's logo, because they gave us the funds, and then a serial number so that we can track all of the bins. So it will take a little time. Excuse me. It will take a little time once we get the grant to implement it, plus delivery of the carts. I think it took us about 2 to 3 weeks last time to deliver the carts that we had.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I have a question. People keep telling me that we have all these extra containers. Is that true?
No, it's not. We have about, I think, between 150 and 180 extra ones.
Okay.
Yeah, not 2,800.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff on Facebook that is completely not true, and a lot of
Oh, it
people know
wasn't
it's
on
not true.
Facebook. I've
But,
just,
yeah, well, I'm sure that's where it came from.
or maybe.
Anything else? Mr. Manager, I see the county is advertising for a new head of the land bank.
Yes, yes.
Is-
So
is,
Mr. Irochi is moving on to another position, so the search is on for another.
Okay, will
executive.
that affect our projects, you think? I know we were waiting on getting 6 houses built and,
So we will be stepping in to help administer a lot of the grants.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Ms. Cooper?
Mr. President,
Yes, 1 minute.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I was just going to see any fire truck updates,
Fire truck updates.
When it's coming.
the fire truck.
The ladder truck?
Yeah,
Oh, yes, we're now being told it's been pushed back to August. Wow. Yes. So it was originally March or April, now we're back into August. Yes. The good news is, 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, by the time we take delivery, we locked that in at 1.8 million. The price is now 2.2 million for that same truck.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper?
I have no report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Mr. Khan?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 legislatures, and the first one is an ordinance authorizing a reward for Assistant Finance Director for extra duties, extended work hours, work on weekends, and lost paid time off during the transition in the City of Ashtabula Finance Department in the amount of $2,500.
I will move on the Finance Director's recommendation.
Second.
Mrs. Foglio was second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add that to our agenda by a 7-0 vote.
The second one is an ordinance to make supplemental increases to appropriations in the Water Pollution Control Fund, State, County, Municipal Roads, Public Works Fund, Court Special Projects Fund, and all other funds listed on Exhibit A for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Ashtabula, State of Ohio, for the period of January 1st through December 31st, 2025, in the amount of $29,200.
I will move on the Finance Director's recommendation.
I'll second.
Mr. Guerrero will second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add it by a 7-0 vote. Anything else, Mr.
No,
Khan?
that's it.
Just for those of you that were here, Mr. Khan presented our budget at our 5:30 meeting, our budget for the upcoming year, and that is on view for 10 days. If anybody would like to see it, it's in the office and it's online.
Mr. President, it'll be online tomorrow.
It'll be online. And then we will vote to adopt that budget on December 15th. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Ms. Milberg, anything this evening?
I have no report.
Thank you, Ms. Milberg. Our committee reports, economic development,
There's no meeting for December.
finance and personnel, I believe we have a report.
Yes, I'm going to try and make it short because a lot of what we discussed has already been discussed with the tax situation, our budget. We met on Friday, November 21st. Our finance director stated that the income tax collections totaled over $875,000. $566,000 has been collected by the Ohio Attorney General's office to date. Letters are being sent out for assessments. Over $31,000 is currently due on our 2024 city returns. All budget accounts are on track. As we discussed earlier, he had no major concerns, although the sanitation fund is a concern, being in the negative. There were no concerns with expenditures, and that we would have a better picture at the end of the month, probably the middle of this month, December. Bed tax collected last year was $9,000. To date, this year, we have collected $38,000, with the last quarter being $27,000 in collections of bed tax. We discussed the budget. It will be presented. We already did that. A discussion was held on the Public Works building, the sanitation building, noting that it has to be a priority. The city will need to have a mortgage to replace or purchase another building, as we cannot afford to use PI funds. The difficulty is finding another building with a 14-foot door for our vehicles. The manager presented spreadsheets for the rate increase for sanitation, as we've discussed, $3 agreed upon for 2026. Dumpster rates will be increased, drop-off rates will be increased. He also told us that staffing is holding strong and the new sewer jet has arrived. And our next meeting on December 19th is canceled.
Thank you, Mrs. Foglio. There was a Public Works report.
Yes, and also some of this was repeated as well. But prior to the meeting, which was Tuesday, November 25th, here at 8:30, we went outside and we got to preview the new Jet Vac truck, which was amazing, spick and span. They gave us a little demo, and I think, Mr. Manager, did today start the training? Today?
Yes, there was a company in today to do the training.
Okay. It's pretty intense. It's all computerized, and it was really neat. They did a mock simulation of how it actually can pick up a brick. So think of it, going down and what can suck up in that was amazing. Kind of redundant, but we did go over all the rate increases for the trash pickup, the dumpsters, and also the transfer station. Those have not been updated, at least sanitation, for the trash pickup since 2018. We were well below other municipalities, so even with the increase, we're under. So that would be the first reading on the 1st and then presented for passage on the 15th. We talked about this in pre-council about waste management. has an increase proposed of 8%, so Mr. Timonier's working on that. Not happy with that. We went over the recycling. So if everything's a go, we kind of did a timeline. If everything would go good with the grant and hot stamping, it still would probably be like the beginning of 2027. So it is a process once it all gets done, but that's exciting. They'll put out literature so you know what to put in the containers and all that. It's sort of a learning curve when they bring them out. It'll have all the educational information. So that will be exciting. Water pollution, Mr. Verzella, the outfall relocation is complete with the line installed. The only outstanding item is a flow meter, needs to be installed to report to the state when the existing outfall reaches hydraulic capacity and its discharge over the boat slip. Disinfection season was complete without any violations. The department did assist the Port Authority installing a new pump-out station that was grant-funded. It's operable, winterized, and ready for next year's boating season. Public Works, they reported that the new truck was here. We looked at that. Leaf collection concluded this week. They're making good use of the new track hoe, and the trailer did come in that they're using as well. They're planning on transitioning to 2 shifts for winter operations starting December 15th, a little sooner than last year. The sanitation department is fully staffed. They're working on 3 employees that do not have CDLs. They're working on that this month. They're ready for snow events. The group discussed, we did talk about snow removal practices, challenges with sidewalks on Bridge Street, but the Lift Bridge Community Association is paying for sidewalk clearing this year. And we did talk about the 2026 road paving program. With approximately $400,000 committed to Collins Boulevard, about $600,000 will remain for other roads from the estimated $2.3 million. This does not include GPD's engineering fees. So I'm not sure, Mr. Manager, have we done anything more with our paving? No, not yet. Okay. 2 bids were received from the Walnut Boulevard outfall project. They were not favorable. GPD recommended not to do this at this time. It was estimated 80 to 90,000. The lowest bid was 121. So GPD is looking into a temporary fix for the winter on that. We did talk about the update on the traffic light, West Avenue, Lake Avenue, Carpenter Road, the West 19th. GPD is working on bid documents on that, and the traffic light at West 8th and Lake Avenue will need to be replaced, and unfortunately, that one will be upwards of 150,000 because new poles have to be installed. So, new poles have to be installed. We are not going to have a December meeting, and we adjourned at 9:38. That was it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Mills. Yes.
I have a question. Mr. Manager, who does the clearing of the sidewalks on Main Avenue? Who pays for that? Who does it?
The sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner.
Okay.
So the Lift Bridge Community Association has decided to put their funds from the association into clearing the sidewalks in the harbor. So typically what happens in a snow event, after we're done plowing, we will come back and remove the piles that are left from the plows on both Main Avenue and Bridge Street. They are now, I think it's anything over 4 inches.
4 inches.
Is when that's going to trigger. So up to 4 inches, there'll still be the business owner's responsibility to clear the sidewalks.
Again, thank you, Mrs. Mills. Safety forces?
Mr. President?
Yes.
And Mr. Timonier, if it's over 4 inches, then what?
Well, if it's over 4 inches for the harbor, then they have contracted that out. So they have somebody that will come in and clear their sidewalks.
And if it's Main Avenue and it's over 4 inches?
It's still the property owner's responsibility.
Mr. Guerrero, safety forces?
Yes, we will be having a meeting a week from Thursday, 8:30 here.
The 11th, right?
Correct.
All right, thank you. All right, Planning Commission, I believe is a meeting scheduled in December. I'm not sure the exact date. They're trying to move it on, and I haven't seen the agenda yet. In the Historic Preservation Commission, I haven't received, they're supposed to meet next week, and I haven't received the agenda for that either. So you'll just have to look at the city's website to see if those meetings are occurring. Okay. All right, anything for the ad hoc committee?
Not other than getting back the revisions for the proposed legislation, and we'll present it at a later date.
Okay. All right, so we have our legislative items tonight. I will read the legislative items over. Anyone who wants to comment on any of them may do so. You approach the podium, state your name, your address, your ward, where you live, something identifying information for us. The agenda tonight, because we have some items that are on their first reading, some that have already had their first readings. So to my fellow counselors, we would be dividing it up into 3 different sections, but we will get to that when we get to the voting. The items tonight are a tax abatement for Venice Elite Properties, an ordinance repealing the expanded district, what's the district called again? A development district?
Revitalization.
Revitalization district, and then a ordinance having a new expanded revitalization district in the harbor on Lake Avenue, changing some pages in our codified ordinance, and authorizing a settlement claim with resident Jennifer Posiak, a reward for our assistant finance director, financial payment, increases and decreases, or increases in appropriation funds. And then we have our 6 ordinances that are on the first reading. These are dealing with increasing the garbage rates and repealing the old garbage rates and increasing the new garbage rates. So if anyone would like to speak on any of these ordinances, now would be the time to do it. Please state your name and some kind of address or information.
Yes, Jacob Dinsmore, West 54th Street. So I stand in opposition to the abatement for the Airbnb. It's owned by a company that the owners of this company also own another Airbnb in the city. It was purchased on March 31st of this year and marked as completed by the building inspector on the 24th. So it was a house that was already being built. It was built by M&K Developers, who was also doing Winter Field. So, you know, this is a house that could have been owned by a family rather than being rented for, you know, part of the season as an Airbnb. The people who own this LLC also own another company, Venice Solutions, which is a management side employment law company. And as a person who does union organizing, I mean, they don't tend to be hurting too bad. But that's beyond the point. Kind of looking out, I'm concerned that this could be a slippery slope in that, you know, when we're looking at the comprehensive plan, a lot of infill development is wanting to be done in the city. And if we're giving abatements to an Airbnb that is buying up a new property, how many other people are going to see this and now come in and start purchasing these new properties, looking for this abatement to just kind of take some of that cost off? And yeah, I see that as a concern.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Anyone else?
I'm Megan Humphrey. I'm co-owner of Point Break LLC, and we own an Airbnb on Thayer Avenue and a commercial property on Bridge Street. In 2021, my brother and I purchased a small home, renovated it, and now operate an Airbnb at that location. We purchased a second commercial building on Bridge Street and plan to use the second floor apartment as a short-term rental. We have never asked for a tax abatement for these properties, and we don't intend to. Every dollar we've made in our Airbnb has been invested in the renovation and rehabilitation of the Bridge Street property. The applicants from Hudson do not live here and are essentially absentee landlords. I do not think it's wise to give incentive to absentee landlords. It especially rankles me to see abatements given to people who have no other connection to this community aside from siphoning money off into their pockets and avoiding paying their taxes. My brother and I live here and are personally invested in the community. Every dollar we make on our properties is invested back into the property. If we ever reach the point that our properties turn a profit, those dollars will return to the community where we live and support local businesses. We used local banking for our business and personal loans. Our insurance is purchased from local independent insurance agents. When JP Ducro asks for donated bed nights to support the RAM Clinic, we always say yes because we're part of this community. I don't see what incentive there is from someone out of town to give back in that way. They will also not likely be approached for that kind of giving because they're not known to the community. We have both volunteered our time and resources on projects to improve the city of Ashtabula because we care about the prosperity and growth of this city. Property taxes pay for services that are vital to Ashtabula, and we understand that those taxes are part of doing business. This couple from Hudson wants to benefit from the tax dollars that I pay without contributing back to Ashtabula. I don't see how this abatement really encourages growth, which should be the purpose of abatements. I also don't think the tax abatement program has clear goals and objectives or metrics to measure the merit of the request. The city should take the time to think through how they want to best leverage this program and decide what type of businesses they want to encourage through abatements. From my perspective, priority should be given to businesses that will provide well-paying, full-time employment to citizens of Ashtabula. I also believe there is no need to grant a 100% tax abatements for 7 years. It seems like a very long time to wait for a business owner to contribute back to the community. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Humphrey. Anyone else would like to address council?
My name's Tim Lehan. I am a North Kingsville Village resident, and I appreciate your time this evening, and hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the tax abatement issue, and from a member of a group that has, constructed some townhomes on Bridge Street. We did 18 townhouses on Bridge Street. We have platted another 7 units worth of townhomes. I believe that the abatements have spurned a lot of economic growth. You know, if you look at approximately the last 7 years, I think there's been between 40 and 50 new constructions in the city. In the previous decade before that, I don't know how many new constructions there were, but I would guess it would be close to zero. So I feel like, it has been an economic catalyst, and I worry that if we are kind of picking winners and losers on who gets the abatement and who doesn't, and laugh all you want. I feel like anything that we can do to bring housing stock on board right now. Currently, as of about an hour ago on Realtor.com in Ashtabula County, when you remove the pending homes, mobile homes, and vacant land, there are 243 homes for sale in the entire county. In the month of October 2025, 91 homes sold in Ashtabula County. So we're looking at about a 2.5-month supply. So we need to get new construction of all types. So, M&K Builders, who built that home that is being asked for an abatement right now, many of those homes have been spec homes. So construction costs, land acquisition has all been made in anticipation of a sale. You don't know who's going to buy what you're constructing. So in order to take that risk, having that abatement in an environment where, $200 a square foot is what construction's going for. So, if you're looking at a 1,400 square foot house, that's $280,000 without the land. So, when we look at needing affordable housing here, these abatements are critical where, you know, if you're going to build a $300,000 house, the bank's going to want $60,000 down. How many people are walking around with $60,000 in Ashtabula County to put down on a home? Not a whole lot. And you're going to finance that for 30 years at 6.5%. It's going to be between $1,500 and $1,600 a month just for the principal and interest. So that extra $200 to $300 in real estate taxes that is being abated on these is the difference between someone getting qualified for a home and not getting qualified for a home. So, you know, when I look at these abatements, is the first step to say no to an Airbnb, is the next step to say no to a landlord. So right now I have a plan that is approved by the Historic Review Commission to build a single family home that I intend to rent on West 6th Street. You know, if I'm able to construct that property, I'm going to be looking at about $1,200 a month if I get an abatement. If I don't get an abatement, it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500. And I think, you know, that, you know, each incremental extra $100 pushes a lot of people out of being able to afford that home. So I just think we need to do as many things as we can to encourage affordability. You know, I can only speak for myself, but as a landlord, I am not going to charge the $1,500 and stick that $300 in my pocket. But I appreciate your time, and you know, I think anything we can do to spur economic growth and solve this housing crisis and improve affordability is necessary. And when we talk out of town, everybody that was involved in our townhome project, you know, lives within 10 miles of Ashtabula City and shops in Ashtabula City and sits on nonprofit boards in Ashtabula City and goes to church in Ashtabula City. So, like, you know, we're invested here. Just because I live in North Kingsville doesn't mean I don't care about this city. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Leon.
Hi, Blake Hinkle, Ward 1. I wanted to come up here. I wanted to address a number of things in regards to the abatement. The first, I apologize for laughing at you, sir. I don't know if it's necessarily very fair to say that it's picking winners and losers when we're incentivizing Airbnb.
Can you address council, please?
Okay, at any rate, I apologize. The point I want to make is that nuance and details matter. If the gentleman behind me was coming here in good faith to open a short or a long-term rental and wanted a tax abatement, that would be something that's an entirely different conversation than a short-term rental from people for out of town. These details matter. And I think that when we talk about picking winners and losers, it behooves a society to protect its most precious resources, including but not limited to housing. And so I just think that it's kind of a mischaracterization to say that short-term rentals are the same in any league as long-term rentals or single-family home ownership. I just don't think they're even in the same ballpark. And that's why I laughed the way I did, because I don't think they're the same thing at all. At any rate, to kind of backpedal, at the last meeting we had, after I had made my statements, there was 2 or 3 counselors that had made comments to me, and I wasn't allowed to respond because of the way in which this is done. It feels a little bit, God, am I losing my train of thought? It feels like it's tactful for me to have what I have to say, and then as I sit down, have people telling me more things and not give me an opportunity to speak. It just feels like that's the time for you to get your last word in and completely negate what I'm going to say. That doesn't seem fair. So to backpedal to where we were at the last meeting, the last thing that was brought up was that President Roskovics had mentioned that if you have an issue with what's going on with the school, you should contact your state representative. That's all fine and dandy, but frankly, we're here to work with you guys. You guys represent us. I think that it's really a foregone conclusion, and it's really a shame. You all work for us. We don't work for you. You work for us. And frankly, it's really rich that the only comment I get is a passing of the buck that, oh, contact your state representative. I'm here to talk to you guys. The buck stops with y'all. It does not stop with the state representative. I'm here for that. I can handle the state representative on my own. You have every reason to be concerned with what's happening with the school in your community that you're legislating for. So with that being said, I also find it very rich that the only two people on council, with the exception of Ms. Holman, that advocated for any further time were the two Republicans on council. As a Democrat, I find that very rich. At any rate, I'm going to leave the rest of my time, but I want council to know the city is paying attention. If you think they don't, they are. And it was a 10-1 in regards to local sentiment regarding this B&B. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkle. Anyone else?
My name is Anthony Oquindo. I'm in Ward 1. I don't have an opinion one way or another as far as the tax abatements in general, as far as an Airbnb. I think the only thing we really need to consider is, so if we're giving tax abatements for Airbnbs, you know, just doing a little bit of research, out of 365 days a year, about 160 of those days are, there's occupancy within the Airbnbs. On average, about $200 a night. That brings about $960 worth of bed tax revenue. If we're looking at the same house, both abated, the only thing that the tax that the city is going to see is income tax, household income tax, which is about, let's say, $40,000 a year, which is going to bring about $810. So with an Airbnb, you're actually going to see more tax revenue generated that route. But I think we really need to sit back and kind of ask ourselves, what kind of city do we want to be? Do we want to be a tourist city where we have a lot of, you know, people coming in from out of town? Or do we want to have permanent residents here in the city? And I think it's a good thing to have a mixture of both, but I think we should really, you know, kind of set guidelines when we're talking about abatements, because based off of the first meeting for the master plan, on the board, talking about infill housing, a lot of residents want to see infill housing, they do, but they also want single-family detached or multi-purpose units. So I think we should really have a stronger discussion on what kind of city do we want to be, rather than whether we should be abating properties. But and lastly, Mr. Lehan, I can understand what you're saying. However, as discussed in the last meeting, there was a but-for when a lot of these construction companies come in. There cannot be a but-for because it still has to go through council. Construction starts, council then approves or denies the abatement. And I think, and of course, you know, anybody who's going to want to build a house is going to want to build in the harbor. They're not going to want to build in, you know, a more rundown, let's say Ward 5, you know, Ward 3, where there's a lot of crime, a lot of other activity. So they're going to go after the prime real estate. I think we should maybe have a discussion like, I would love to hear the pros and cons of what Mr. Simeone brought up last week as far as, you know, targeted abatements in different wards or different areas or even different types of housing. So I think there should be some clear-cut guidelines based off of what we want to see as a city. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Quindo.
Hi, guys. Steve Chase, Arlington Avenue. I emailed every one of you, including the city manager. I heard from two of you about abatements. I'm going to speak twice tonight about abatements. This one is this particular abatement. I agree with what he said. It's great to have both in the city. I'm not a big fan of short-term rentals. I'll tell you that right now. But as far as revenue being generated by the short-term rentals, I'll say it again, I said it in the email. I go on vacation, I spend thousands of dollars a week in the community in which I am residing. Those short-term rentals that are in the harbor, whether they have a tax abatement or not, are spending thousands of dollars in restaurants and businesses in this community, which is generating revenue not only to the city, but also to the business owners in the city. I do agree, though, that the habit of council to rubber stamp abatements is probably not the best situation in place. It would be my opinion, there should be a sliding scale here based on where it is, what type of business it is, and not that there's a lot of rhetoric about this being a short-term rental and people are up in arms against it. And not, again, not a fan of short-term rentals. I'm going to talk tonight at the public hearing about short-term rentals as well. But I do think that we're missing the point that this short-term rentals bring a lot of revenue into the city of Ashtabula, not just in bed tax. So whether it should be a full 100% abatement for 7 years, that's up to you guys. I do believe that the city would benefit from long-term, single-family residential structures, but the state of Ohio has prohibited most municipalities from over-regulating short-term rentals. So to some degree, your guys' hands are tied. Enough said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Okay.
Austin Clark, Columbus Avenue. I just had a question about the increase for the trash pickup. Is that per billing cycle or per week that it goes up by $3?
Mr. President, that's the monthly charge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the way we were, oh, all right, go ahead. I didn't see anybody.
Hi, my name's Ryan Lensel. I live here on Main Avenue. The first thing I want to do is, a lot of some of the notes that I had written down, people have very eloquently expressed their views. A little bit will be redundant, but I'll do the best I can. The most important thing I think to focus on is that every person that I've talked to shares, the vast majority shares the opinion that it isn't no abatement or blanket abatement. It is a targeted strategy in which the residents of Ashtabula receive the most value for the tax dollars that they are surrendering. The process that we have today is no process at all. There's an expectation that your taxes will be waived if you develop here. And it's folly for that process to start off in that way because each project adds a different amount of value to our city. So a porn store does not add the same value as a daycare. A tobacco shop does not add the same value as a hair salon. You know, each one of these projects needs to be viewed on its face independently on the value that it brings and the risk that our community faces from bringing these projects here. It should be data-driven, and we should be asking fact-based questions like, is this property distressed in some way? You know, brownfield or some sort of pollution issue. Have there been challenges to developing this parcel in the past? What is the use? Is it residential? And if so, will it be a family residence, a long-term rental, or a short-term rental? Is the owner a city resident or a county resident? Every aspect of this should be looked at because every aspect impacts how the tax dollars are being used and the impact that they have on our community. The criteria for this process should be transparent and consistently applied to every single abatement, not a handshake agreement or a backdoor agreement or an assumptive agreement, and then the place is built, and well, we have to give it now because we told them that they would. The multiple counselors have stated that they would say yes to nearly every abatement, which is problematic because, again, not all the projects have the same value, and also, we don't really even know what the abatement criteria is for these theoretical projects, so the whole process feels arbitrary. Beyond those questions, there are other considerations like how does a specific abatement benefit our residents? Are there other incentives besides giving away hard-earned tax revenue to attract people to our area? Should we limit short-term rentals to benefit our residents and ease the housing crisis that we're facing? And what are the downline consequences of the project? And I use an example like this. The property that's being debated tonight fails every single aspect of the criteria. Every single last criteria. And the defense is, well, in 7 years, we'll have some tax revenue, and in the meantime, they'll be spending some money in our community. The national average for Airbnb occupancy annually is 53%, and that includes warm weather climates and destinations like Florida, California, Texas. Ashtabula falls below that average because of our bad weather. I've spoken to a number of Airbnb owners who say that a good number of occupancy annually here is about 35%. Even though there's larger amounts of tax dollars being spent by these visitors, as Mr. Chase said, that 30% doesn't make up the 100% of expenditure of a family of four, or the income tax revenue, or the other types of revenue that are contributed to our community. In addition, the harbor is very seasonal, and the businesses are forced to close or limit their hours during the winter because of the seasonality. By surrounding Bridge Street and the nearby neighborhoods with seasonal housing, we're exacerbating the seasonality, because in the wintertime, when we have low occupancy rates, we don't have residents walking down to these businesses and buying a coffee at Harbor Perk. That doesn't... 1 minute. Okay. So we're creating an economic moat around Bridge Street, and we're actually, long-term, in many ways, we're hurting the harbor, whereas if those were family residential units where people could walk down or drive down, even during inclement weather and other times, we could help them sustain their annual, because the reality is most of them are currently at or near the full amount that they can operate during their peak season. I mean, they can't add more seating. So to help them, it would make a lot more sense for them to smooth out their annual economic budgets by having residents living in the neighborhoods. That's it? Yeah. My last comment is we should abate on Baltic Avenue, not Boardwalk.
Thank you, Mr. Lenz.
JP Ducro, 4524 Elm Avenue. I just want to, I want to thank those that have already made the investment to bring housing to our community that we haven't had for such a long time. For people like Mr. Lehan and his group, really is appreciated. I tend to very much agree with the comment about strategizing. I think what I would like to see council consider is it doesn't always have to be set in stone, but some guidelines for various areas, because I think in areas like Station Avenue, West Avenue, the surrounding neighborhoods there, if somebody's going to get the exact same benefit to build a house there as they would on Walnut Boulevard, nothing will ever be built there until there's nothing available on Walnut Boulevard. And I will say that I don't believe zero abatements should be given to properties in maybe more desirable in areas, because I do strongly believe that the abatement strategy is important, and you're going to get it when you go to other communities. But maybe some type of a sliding scale, and then we can truly see, is the reason for development the location, or is the reason for development the abatement? And that may help us make decisions moving forward after you have some data over a number of years to see what type of incentives will help regenerate neighborhoods in our community that are more likely to be growing residential neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ducro. Okay, for council, because our agenda is so varied this evening, we are going to handle items let me see how they're written. Ordinance 190, Ordinance 196, and 197. We will handle these three ordinances together: the tax abatement, the investment district, and repealing the investment district. These have already had a first reading. So is it council's desire to handle these three items together?
No,
No.
These three, just these three?
no, thank you.
Okay. So you want to handle item A by itself?
Correct.
All right. Okay, so it's already had a first reading. May I have a motion to waive the reading of the legislation in its entirety?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Holman moves, Ms. Foglio seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading by a 7-0 vote. Is it count, what's already, I don't have to waive the two requirements because we already done that. So we will vote on the adoption of the legislation. This is the adoption of the tax abatement. Ms. Milberg, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
No.
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
No.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
The tax abatement has been approved by a 5-2 vote. All right, items B and C. Is it council's desire that we can handle these two items together?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Foglio and a second by Mrs. Mills to handle these two items together. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will do so by a 7-0 vote. May I have a motion to waive the reading of the legislation in its entirety?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Foglio, second by Ms. Holman. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading by a 7-0 vote. And may I, Ms. Milberg, will you call the roll on the passage of these two items of legislation?
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
All these two items have passed by a 7-0 vote. I would then like to handle items 20, 25, 199, 200, 201, and 202 together. Is it council's desire to handle these four items in consent agenda format?
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. DiGiacomo, second by Mrs. Foglio. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will do so by a 7-0 vote. May I have a motion to waive the reading of the legislation in its entirety?
So moved. I'm sorry, second.
Who moved?
I don't know.
Ms. Holman.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Holman moves, Ms. Foglio second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading by a 7-0 vote. May I have a motion to waive the charter requirements of 2 readings?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Foglio moves, Mrs. Mills seconds. Ms. Milberg, will you please call the roll?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I didn't read these.
Oh, my gosh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for would you read these 4 items of legislation, please?
Ordinance number 2025-199, an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Ashtabula codified ordinances. Ordinance number 2025-200, an ordinance authorizing the council president to enter into a mutual release and settlement of claims with Jennifer Posiask for the city of Ashtabula in an amount not to exceed $350. Ordinance number 2025-201, an ordinance authorizing a reward for the Assistant Finance Director for extra duties, extended work hours, work on weekends, and lost paid time off during the transition in the City of Ashtabula Finance Department. Ordinance number 2025-202, an ordinance to make supplemental increases to appropriations in the WPC Fund, SCMR Public Works Fund, Court Special Projects Fund, and all other funds listed on Exhibit A for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Ashtabula, State of Ohio for the period January 1st through December 31st, 2025.
Thank you, Ms. Milberg. I thought I was organized, but I guess not. Okay, is everyone fine with the handling these together? And then waiving the entire reading? Anyone want to take back their vote? Okay, at this time then, we have a motion from Mrs. Foglio and a second by Mrs. Mills. Will you please call the roll on waiving the charter requirements of 2 readings?
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
So we will waive the charter requirements by a 7-0 vote. We will now vote on the passage of these 4 items of legislation. Will you please call the roll?
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
These 4 items of legislation have passed by a 7-0 vote. Okay, now on these items, we just want to have a first reading. So you will read them and then we will vote on what? Do we have to, Ms. Cooper, do we have to vote on anything for just the first reading? Just have her read them and then that'll be it. And then we will,
I'm sorry, Mr. President, you need to vote on waiving the full reading of the legislation.
okay,
Not suspending the charter requirement.
not to spend the, okay. Will you read these items for us?
Ordinance number 2025-203, an ordinance
Wait a
repeal.
minute, first of all, can we, can we handle items 203, 204, 205, 206, 207, and 208 in consent agenda format?
Yes.
Ms. Holman moves.
Second.
Mrs. Foglio seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will do so by a 7-0 vote. Will you read us the legislation now, please?
Ordinance number 2025-203, an ordinance repealing in its entirety existing codified ordinance, Chapter 951.03, entitled Solid Waste Disposal Rates, Collection, and Disposal, for the passage of replacement legislation to impose new charges for rubbish disposal in the city of Ashtabula effective January 1st, 2026. Ordinance number 2025-204, an ordinance enacting new codified ordinance, Chapter 951.03, entitled Solid Waste Disposal Rates, Collection, and Disposal, in order to increase efficiency and impose new charges for rubbish disposal in the city of Ashtabula, effective January 1st, 2026. Ordinance number 2025-205, an ordinance repealing in its entirety codified ordinance section 951.09 for the purpose of enacting replacement legislation that will provide for new rates and charges for leasing commercial containers effective January 1st, 2026. Ordinance number 2025-206, an ordinance enacting new codified ordinance section 951.09 for the purpose of enacting new rates and charges for leasing commercial containers effective January 1st, 2026. Ordinance number 2025-207, an ordinance repealing in its entirety codified ordinance section 951.10 for the purpose of replacement legislation enacting new rates and charges for transfer station rates effective January 1st, 2026. Ordinance number 2025-208, an ordinance enacting new codified ordinance section 951.10 for the purpose of enacting new rates and charges for transfer station rates effective January 1st, 2026.
Thank you. May I have a motion to waive the reading of this legislation in its entirety?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Foglio moves, Mrs. Mills seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the entire reading by a 7-0 vote. And then we will have this on our agenda for the next meeting. Okay, we will come to our part of our meeting for unfinished business. Does anybody have any unfinished business?
I do, Mr. President. I was wondering, probably this is probably more appropriate for the city manager. Have we got any more research on those flashing, slow-moving vehicle, 25-mile-an-hour signs for Fifth Street? We've got brought up at the,
I think what you're referring to is the speed limit signs.
Yes.
That clock your speed limit, yes. So we've done the research. It's probably going to be a project that we get moving in the spring.
okay,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Anyone else with any unfinished business?
I want to follow up with Councilor Guerrero's question to Mr. Timonier. Has there been conversations around where the locations of those signs will be placed?
So, Mr. President, Ms. Holman, when we discuss this, they make a portable sign not on the cart like what we had rented from the State Highway Patrol, but it's actually a sign that mounts to an existing road speed sign. And with some bracketry that you install on those poles, you can then move it. The ones we're looking at are battery operated, so the battery does need to be recharged every 5 days. So at the time where we flopped out the battery, we would then move it to a different location, kind of move them throughout the city. The brackets are not much to purchase so that you can move these signs around, but we figured we would start with one. We have not determined, besides Main Avenue and Bridge Street and West Avenue, any other locations. But I'm sure because of their portability, we can pretty much put them wherever they would be requested.
And requested by whom?
Council, staff,
Anyone?
yes.
Where there's a problem with speeding?
Thank you, Mr. Timonier. Any other unfinished business for council? Any new business? We have, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, we have 2 liquor permits. They are, one is for the Unimart on Park Avenue.
Is that next door? Is that
Where's that?
right next door?
Oh.
The gas station.
Okay, I was thinking, where Park Avenue? Okay. And then one is for Los Compadres on West Avenue. Any, I think this is Ward, is this Ward 3? Huh?
One is 4 and one is 3.
Yeah, the Los Compadres is 3.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with it.
okay. And then this is Ward 4, then, Mrs. Mills, do you feel any need for a hearing?
Is it just, I'm looking, just the owner change or name? Because they were already,
That one just looks like an owner change, name
Okay.
change.
the other one didn't have a from and to. Is there anything on that one? The Los Compadres?
I don't have a problem with it.
No, I'm just asking, it doesn't have a from and to. I didn't know what it,
Maybe it's a upgrade or something. They have a complete bar there, don't they?
where it says D5, is that something
That's
new?
the good one. D5's the good one.
That's the highest amount, but I didn't know, like, is that what they had from before?
Okay. Are we good? Okay, does anyone have anything for tell us something we don't know?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Tomorrow, the ADDA has a Member and Friends event, which it's kind of neat. It's at the new Shenanigans Sports Hall on Main Avenue, and the doors open at 5:30. It's the annual ADDA meeting, starts at 6 p.m. So following the meeting, you can check out the entertainment. And then they're going to start some sneak peek Saturdays before their grand opening. So December 6th, this Saturday, and the following Saturday, the 13th, from noon to 5, you can go and tour the building. So I thought that was kind of neat. If you're looking at something different to do, that looks kind of nice. And then there's also Holidays in the Harbor is the weekend of the 13th and 14th, and they're actually going to have a ice skating rink, horse-drawn carriage rides from the hotel, I believe, roasted chestnuts, kids craft, shopping, they have Grinch brunch and Santa lunch. And the only other kind of entertainment thing, right around the corner in our township here, the Lights on the Lake, the walkthrough is this Thursday night, from 6 to 8, so I think there's only one time you can actually walk through, so, and I think it's gonna be a little snowy. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mills. Mrs. Mills, is that, thing on Main Street, is there a basement in there too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's supposed to be all,
There's activity in
yeah,
the basement and then activity
all
on the
kinds of
first
stuff. Yeah, if you're able to check it out, if you can't make it tomorrow, this Saturday or next Saturday.
Okay. All right, very good. Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, anyone else have anything for tell us something we don't know? Okay, all right, this is the time when the public can comment on anything, even if non-legislative, so please make sure you share your name and the address with us.
Yeah, hi, Blake Hinkle coming up again, Ward 1, Union Avenue. The word I was looking for earlier was arbitrary. Thank you, Ryan, for using it in a sentence. The process feels very arbitrary when people come up and they're kind of scattered off and then talked down to after the fact. But that's not the point I want to make coming up here again. The point I want to make is that there's a lot of concern about developers and, for lack of a better word, the haves. Where's the concern for the have-nots in our community and the people that benefit from these services, namely the school kids in Lakeside? Why did we have to fight to even get a second reading to be heard? It doesn't seem fair. And I'm asking council directly, why? Why? Well,
Isn't this part of the meeting where you can state a claim and not ask us questions?
I mean, if a counselor wants to reply, they can, but they're not obligated to. But you feel free to, you still have time to talk if you would like to.
I just think the lack of response is very telling about the state of our government in Ashtabula, and I mean no disrespect on anyone on a personal level, but again, public servant means that you do serve the public, and it is our job to hold to account the work that you all do. And I'm going to, again, from the podium, encourage every citizen of Ashtabula, if they have any issue with how anything's done, to please come to meetings and make your voices heard, because the only way things are going to change is if the pressure continues to get put up so that more people pay attention to the most vulnerable in our community and not the richest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Chase again. I'm still on Arlington Avenue. I appreciate you guys not answering. I understand the rules of council. You don't have to answer anybody who asks you a question. But I'm going to lay down a challenge here, because three of you, I believe, just got reelected, right? All of you ran for office by your own accord. Nobody twisted your arm. Nobody forced you to run for office. I challenge all of you to do better at your jobs. Show up for these meetings prepared. I made the mistake of coming here at 6:30 and listened to the committee selection one, and the amount of typos and errors that are in a report that not only should you have known was going to be written and read today and approved, you should have known a year ago, because it's the same thing that happens every the first Monday of every December and has for X number of years now. So really, shame on all of you for not having read that and found those errors beforehand and corrected them. You can answer me if you want, but I don't, this is me telling you what I see. I sat here and listened to it, error after error after error. I'm like, why was this not brought up beforehand? I emailed all of you, and I'm going to go back to the tax abatement again, because I do agree, it is somewhat arbitrary. It's been pretty much rubber stamped for years now. I understand the purpose of a tax abatement. I also understand the idea that the tax abatement is to promote growth throughout the entire city. Growth that we want. I'm not opposed to the idea of a short-term rental, VRBO, Airbnb, whatever you want to have, give them a tax abatement. They build a brand new house, it's beautiful. I get it. Do we have to give them the full boat? Can we have a sliding scale here and give them something that, okay, we're happy you came here, but it's not a single-family residence, which is what we really want. So we're only going to give you 70% or 50%. Let's have a sliding scale, and let's use something, some sort of metric, as opposed to just all or nothing. I mean, that doesn't take very much thought on the part of council. And I'm going to encourage you, I ask you, again, rhetorical question, you don't have to answer me. How many of you actually did any research about the individual who is asking for this tax abatement, other than asking the city manager and his staff what they thought? Did you do any research on your own? Because I'm going to put it out there right now that there's going to be another tax abatement, I believe, for a condo being built at the corner of West 4th and Franklin Avenue that I have reported to the city now at least 3, if not 4 times, for not doing stormwater management. They have completely plugged the sewer system at the bottom of Franklin Avenue. And who's going to pay for that? People are in here complaining about their tax dollars not gaining tax dollars. We're now letting a contractor come in here and spend our tax dollars, and then he's going to come back in all likelihood and ask for a tax abatement. And as I said in that email I sent you, absolutely no, he does not deserve a tax abatement. If people want to come into the city, build things, I'm all for it. I'm all for, everybody in here knows me. I'm all for construction. I think it's a great thing to see the city improving and going in the right direction. But I am adamantly opposed to letting contractors, builders, owners come in here and disrespect this community and what this community stands for by not following the same rules that we expect everybody else to follow. It's bad enough that we have people living here that do that, but we have people from out of the town who are making money off of it, who come in here, slap us upside the face, and we just say, okay, we'll forgive your taxes. So as I said in the email, and I hope all of you got it because I sent it to all of you, I'm adamantly opposed to them getting a tax abatement because they disrespected this community. They don't deserve your time to even consider that tax abatement. But I do encourage you, we as a whole, collectively as a community, tax abatement's a great idea. I'm not opposed. I'm not 100% in favor of this particular one that you guys just approved to the degree that it is. But we need to have some transparency, some sliding scale, some metric, not just all or nothing, which is what it seems like we're at. It doesn't seem fair to the community as a whole. And I appreciate your time for listening to me twice today. Okay? You guys take care.
Thank you, Mr. Chase.
I would like to respond. It's been clear since my very first term that I have asked council to reconsider the tax abatement process. A whole host of different ideas, willing to come together and talk with people, and I have voted consistently no to 100% for 10 years. So my conscience is clear, and I'm very happy that people are now seeing it for what it is.
Okay, keep going.
The other thing I just want to say, yes, I was prepared today. For the council rules discussion, I don't think that it was realistic to have 30 minutes to go through 43 pages of documents. But yes, I was prepared, and of course, we need more time to make the amendments that are necessary.
So with your permission, I'm going to respond to both of those comments. I don't necessarily believe that just saying no to a tax abatement is changing the system. That is the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. They're all or nothing. So we're nothing. That is not a discussion of in between. That's what I see. And I haven't paid attention to all your voting. I'm just telling you that's what I see if we're voting consistently no. We need to graduate this scale and come up with a plan that works for the entire city, regardless of where you're at. And while I'm here, I will say this. VRBOs, short-term rentals, pain in the butt. They need to be legislated. The city needs to crack down on these people that live 50, 60 miles away. Same with landlords, 50, 60 miles away. You need to have somebody here. I spent 31 years in public services trying to get people here when you need them at 3 o'clock in the morning because something's going on at your house and they live 100 miles away is ridiculous. You want to have short-term rentals, you want to have rental property, have a representative here. Whether or not that's legal, I don't know, but the VRBOs, Airbnbs, they need to be legislated, and the state has done you guys all a disservice by saying you can't, they've tied your hands. They've legislated it, they've paid off enough people to get their legislation passed, and it hamstrings communities such as ours, which is a shame on the state legislature. As far as your 43-page document, I believe you said, that 43-page document should have been redlined, changed, and approved before it ever made it to this floor. The time to read the legislation and change it is not the 30 minutes here. The 30 minutes here is to read it, oh, okay, we missed a comma here, a period here, not that we missed the second floor of the old Muni building 37 times or whatever it is in the document. There's no reason that wasn't found 3 months ago, or how long have you been in this building now? A year?
2019 was the last time.
So why has it not been changed ahead of time by now? Legislation is legislation. It should be T's crossed, I's dotted. And Stacy is one set of I's. There's 7 other ones up here. Did you guys find any of those mistakes before tonight and take any action to correct them? That is your job. That's what you guys ran for office. I didn't ask you guys to run for office. Nobody twisted your arms to run for office. Nobody forced you to run for office. You elected to do it, so do better. That's all I'm saying. Do better, please. If you don't want to do better, don't run for office again. If it's not what you thought it was, by all means, get out. Okay? Thank you. Have a good night.
Anthony O'Quinn, Ward 1, again, still there. I just wanted to follow up on a couple things that I brought up last meeting, as far as the encampments in the Gulf. I know, Mr. Timonier, I had sent you the email about the locations. Is there any update on that?
Mr. President, yeah, I believe staff and in coordination with the solicitor's office is addressing those camps now.
Okay, and as far as like the plan of action, are we looking to remove them or cite them or?
A lot of the above, yes.
A lot of the above,
Mhm.
okay. Any particular timeline?
I think we've already made contact, haven't we? Yes. Yeah, contact has already been made with the individuals in the area. Assistance has been offered, and direction of when it's got to be cleared out has been given.
Okay, thank you. The second thing was, I'm just curious if you had a chance to submit requests for the railroad report on the underpass to the FRA?
I did. I have not received anything back from them at this point.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
JP Ducro, 430 West Prospect. Just one other thought on the abatement issue. I think that there is not a shortage of short-term rental properties in Ashtabula City, especially in the harbor area. And I do think that there's a significant shortage of housing, permanent housing, whether those be rentals or whether they be owner-occupied houses. And I don't know if that's something that can be addressed as you debate and consider legislation options for future abatement requests. But if it's possible in working with the solicitor's office to consider maybe evaluation of the use of the property each year as they can get their abatement. I don't know if it can change over the course of a 7-year abatement period, if it's a rental or if it's a owner occupied. You know, the first 2 years, maybe it gets 100% abatement, and then all of a sudden I turn it to a rental. Now maybe the next 2 years I'm only going to get a 75% abatement, and now I've decided, well, the money's just much better for me if I turn it into a Airbnb. Maybe now I get a 25% abatement. If something like that is possible to try to incentivize what we have a true shortage of here in Ashtabula City, maybe that's something that could be considered.
Ryan Linsell, Main Avenue. I just had a couple quick questions that I missed from earlier. I wanted a clarification on. 2 years ago, the bed tax was around $9,000 collected, and then this last year was how much? I apologize.
27,000.
Say it again.
27,000, no?
Mr. President, so last year we collected around $9,000. To date this year, I think it was around $35,000. Our third quarter check, just the third quarter, is going to be $27,000.
Okay, so third quarter is 27, 9,000. How many Airbnbs are operating in the city of Ashtabula?
Mr. President, I don't know that.
I don't think anybody knows that number, and I think that's very telling.
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Yeah,
I do
but
have the data.
What's the metric that's being measured by? What software? How do you know how many
The
people?
county does the collections for us.
Based on what?
I'd have to defer to the commissioner, but there's a program they actually pay for that goes out and hunts for these.
Yeah. You're more than welcome. Go ahead.
I'll just come to the mic. We administer the lodging tax through the county and distribute to the municipalities, villages, townships, and cities. And we do contract with an organization, it was MuniGovs, they've now changed. I can't think of the name of the new company now. But they troll all the different platforms on which people register their homes. So they're constantly finding new folks. Between a lot of times it's just self-report. It can be self-reported, but a lot of times it's reported by competitors who are saying, listen, I'm registered. I see my neighbors are renting out now, and I see how come they're not registered. And so we may find them that way. We also at times find them because they sign up to be a member of the Visitors Bureau, and the Visitors Bureau would let them know that. So there's a number of avenues, but we have close to 600, I believe, rental options in Ashtabula County. That's everything from a hotel down to somebody renting out their trailer.
Is that data sortable? I mean, are you able to?
Oh, yeah, we can break it down any which way you want it. So if you need information, just let me know and I can get you a report.
Okay. And then my last question is there a reason that's well understood as to why the bed tax jumped 4 times just in 1 year? 400%?
There was a 40-room hotel that was erected
So,
and opened.
so the hotel accounts for 3 times the size of all of the other Airbnbs in the entire city for the whole year?
That's what it's kind of looking like. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Can I give a little information about tax abatements? Because obviously some people just like to lie and deceive and say we just have all these backroom deals that we do and handshakes and things like that. So first off, as most of you know, Ohio Revised Code allows for 100% tax abatement for 15 years. The city of Ashtabula does 100% abatement, up to 100% abatement for 7 years on residential, and caps it at 75% a year for 10 years for any kind of commercial. One of the reasons that you all know that the property owner is from out of town is because, not that we don't collect the data, but it's right on the application. Where is your home or main office? The other thing we do with residential, there is a section on the application that actually asks if this is going to be a primary, a secondary, a rental property, or a short-term rental. So we are asking for all that information, which is presented to council for your approval. On the commercial side, which is a much different animal than the residential side, those have to be submitted to council prior to any construction being done. And in that application, we ask those questions. Where's your main office? Are you moving a business from another area to the city of Ashtabula? How many people are you going to employ? What's your timeline for doing all of this stuff? So there are metrics built into that. Whether or not council, you decide that you want to use those metrics for anything, or just base it off the application is how you have done it up to this point. But there is all of that data at your fingertips, which is also then published for the public to see before any of these things are done. I think an interesting thing to note, especially on this property here, first off, most of you know, I am a very big proponent of owner-occupied facilities versus rentals versus short-term rentals. I would much rather see the owner-occupied. This developer that we're talking about over the particular one that caused all the issue today, anybody was able to buy that property. So on that property right now, this is the only one that sits as a rental or an Airbnb. All the rest are either owner-occupied or second homes for people that have purchased those properties. So the developer themselves, yes, it's an incentive because it's hopefully will lead to a quicker sale of the property, but the developer themselves does not receive any benefit of the tax abatement once the property is sold. It's the new owner that does receive those abatements. There's a huge misconception that when people walk into our offices, we're immediately handing them a tax abatement form. We never do that. And as a matter of fact, when anybody that's ever been in an economic development situation where we're trying to recruit a company or anything like that, knows that you have to keep a lot of these things. Not that they haven't already done the research, but you don't come out and put everything on the table. You only do so if you feel that you're in competition with somebody else and you need something to push it over the top. As far as the residential goes, we see people when they come in for a zoning application that they're going to build something. The rest of everything is handled at the building department in the county. And when the project is done and closed out is when, as you see on the actual application, it says at the top, to be filled at project completion. So we don't know whether a person is going to apply for a residential tax abatement until the project is done, okay, and somebody actually owns it. We have never promised anybody a tax abatement, obviously, because it has to come to council for that. So unless there's a reference that council is doing this, it's certainly not coming from our offices. But I know it's gets the likes and everything when you claim that there is a impropriety going on like that. As council knows, I have brought other items at a lesser percentage than the 100%. And if there are applications where I feel they should not, or it would be better off getting a lesser percentage, I will recommend that to council. And I've done that other than what the applications have come across the desk. So all that information is at your fingertips. It's whether or not you want to decipher it. The other thing on here we do ask, do you owe taxes? Do you owe property taxes? Do you owe utility bills to be eligible for tax abatement? So we ask a lot of questions on these forms.
Mr. Manager, I just had one question as far as, to follow up with what you had just stated, as far as promising tax abatements. Now, I presume that nobody's promising tax abatements, but I believe it was the last meeting, maybe the one prior, you had brought up the but-for. So I'm not sure how these owners or developers, I categorize them basically in the same box, but I'm not sure how there's a but-for when there's no promise of a tax abatement from the start of the construction.
So that's been my only issue with the but-for clause, is that especially on a residential application, it's done after it's built. So it's kind of a moot point at that point. This particular person, when I just asked, hey, could you please give us some more data of why you want this tax abatement? That's what I provided to council as the quote-unquote but-for clause. I think in a situation like that, if we want to go to something like that, we would have to request all of that information before construction even starts, before maybe even they buy the property themselves, so that they know up front, hey, it does say right on our website that these are not guaranteed, that it's a maximum. I think there, as many people have stated, we've always, when they have applied for the whole amount, council has always granted the whole amount, so there is a assumption that they're going to get the full amount. But if there is going to be a change in our tax abatement program, I would really like there to be a change in the tax abatement program so that I and my staff are not constantly accused of things that we don't do by people that don't know how the process actually works, and that we can lay some guidelines out that everybody is familiar with.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else wants to address council, we will adjourn. Our next meeting will be 6:30 on December